All right, all right. Hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. I'm Aaron from Solace, back with you for another office hours here on YouTube and LinkedIn. I'm going to bring in my very special guest, Vidya. Hello.
Hello.
How you
Hi,
doing?
Aaron. Hi,
How you doing,
everybody.
man?
I'm good. Thank
Welcome
you. How
to
are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Welcome to the broadcast. Thank you for joining us. Where are you joining us from?
I'm joining from Sydney in Australia.
All right. So it's what 3 p.m. there, I guess. So
3 p.m. Yes.
yeah, noon. It's noon here in Singapore on February 22nd. I guess it's still the 21st back in North America. Hello. We are broadcasting live on LinkedIn and on YouTube and on Twitter, I think, as well. And we're here to answer all sorts of questions related to Solace for the next hour. So hope you tune in. Hope you join us. Say hello on the chat where you're joining us from. And if you have any questions for Vidya, Vidya, how about you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Vidya, based out of Sydney. I work with Solace as a sales engineer. I take care of solution consulting and architecture for the clients within the region. So I take care of the Australia, mainly Queensland, New South Wales, and the New Zealand. And my background has been real-time integration messaging right from early days of my career, starting back in 2004. So I initially started working with TIPCO in RV, TIPCO Business Works, a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
adapters, primarily part of their engineering group. Eventually moved into financial services, and that is where I started working with Solace. So I was Solace customer before, and from then I loved the technology so much that I joined Solace.
Awesome. Hey, that's great. Yeah. So I mean, lots of that background, lots of depth there. We're happy to have you joining us today. So I think this is actually the first time you've joined one of my office hours. So thanks. I'm always looking to pull in other Solace colleagues to kind of to help out, and yeah, hopefully we get some good questions, and maybe we'll get some TIPCO related questions. Who knows? You can be like, wow, Solace is better in this way than that way, right? So
Yep.
um, so let me just go ahead and share my screen here. Put this up. Um, as usual, we're going to be kind of browsing through the Solace community. We'll be seeing if there's any questions here that look interesting. But yeah, we're here mainly to answer questions live on air. So if you got a question, got a comment, say hello. Where are you joining us from? It's always interesting to know where people are tuning in from. But yeah, if you have a question, put it in the chat and we will get back to it. So um, right. Announcements. I don't really have any much announcements. I mean, our Go API has been EA, early availability, for a little while now, and so we're really hoping. There was a lot of interest in Go previously, and like people have been asking about when is Solace going to build a Go API. So it is available. So we're hoping that people have downloaded it and are trying it. Um, there's a group that you can join here on Solace Community where we kind of talk and discuss about early access API discussions. So everything around the Golang API, as well as Python, which is fairly new for us. We released a Python API, what, about a year ago?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, a year and a bit ago. So yeah. So yeah, come ask us a question. Let's see. Let's see if I can see if I oh, this is it's not a question. I mean, well, it was the question. So one of our colleagues actually asked this internally and then decided to make a post about it because it's actually uh, a good thing to know. Not everybody knows this. I was surprised that not everybody knew this. So I guess we should talk about it quickly on air in case people are listening and want to know. Is it possible when you're publishing to a topic that if nobody's listening on, and so the message will just get discarded by the broker because it doesn't match anything, is it possible to find out what that topic was? There are statistics that are incremented on the broker. There's what we call an ingress discard. So it's the broker is discarding the message coming into the broker um, due to a no subscription match. But is it possible to get more granular information? And the answer is yes. there's actually a log, an in-memory log. So it's not written to a file just because of the amount of volume that this could be required to keep track of. But there's a log that tracks all the topics that were published and who published them with no matching subscription. So it's called the no subscription match log. If you're in CLI, can you read that okay, Vidya? Should I zoom in a little bit more?
No, this is perfect. I can.
Okay.
Even though I'm on small screen, I can read it.
Okay, good.
So that means my eyes are okay.
Sometimes we have people joining on their phones, and it's it'd be difficult to read some of this text.
Yes.
But yeah, so there's this log called the no subscription match log. If you have CLI access, if you're running the broker locally, you can just say show log no subscription match. But there's also a SEMP v1 command. So this is our older management protocol where you pass in this kind of RPC XML blob. And yeah, it'll dump out, here's an example using curl. So pretty straightforward way to do it. And it jumps out this big log of, which username and which VPN name and what was the topic that was published on. So very, very useful when looking for things like rogue publishers, I guess, or, people publishing on topics that nobody's listening on, but perhaps you're trying to figure out why you're getting a bunch of discards in the broker because of no subscription match. You can find out kind of who it is and what topic is being published on. So quite a useful thing. So hopefully people take note of this. So thanks to Jamil for posting that up here so people can find it.
I mean, this is very important. It can be a part of regular, sort of auditing built into the operations module, wherein you are able to find out what's happening on the broker estate. The second, this is more of a reactive thing, in my opinion. The more proactive thing is having appropriate access control list, publish ACLs, put on the broker, so that if somebody is by mistake publishing on a wrong topic, right? Because what happens is a lot of times the contracts are not established properly. The publisher doesn't know where they are publishing, and that is where something like event portal comes very handy, where you can establish a very nice visually appealing PubSub contracts for the applications. So this is more of a reactive to find out if there are any publishers publishing on something that's not available. But a more proactive approach is use event portal, have appropriate publish ACLs enforced on the broker. So let's say if I'm trying to inadvertently publish data to something which is not expected, at least the broker will tell me that, hey, what you are doing? Nobody's listening on here. So as a publisher, I will be proactively told that you're throwing garbage at me.
That's right. It's one of the tools that we have access to in case someone's publishing on something they shouldn't be, or just publishing on ACLs are great, but they're maybe not, especially when you start doing variable substitution or like a particular topic level could be almost any.
Correct.
Anything. Perhaps the subscribers are not quite set up correctly as well, right? It might not just be a published thing. It might be like, why is nobody subscribed to this? Your certain topics are getting dropped. But just so people are aware what you're talking about, I'm just going to pull up one of my demo brokers here. So I'm going to go into So this is our PubSub Plus manager. This is the GUI tool that you use to administer the broker. And under access control, this is where you set up your authorization, authentication, client usernames, the client profiles, like what kind of behavior they can do, but also every client username is associated with an ACL profile. And that will dictate, what where you can connect from. There's a connection IP address range, like with subnet masks and everything, but also which topics you're allowed to publish on and which one you're allowed to subscribe on. And these can either be configured as an allow list or a deny list, right? So allow everything except for these, or deny everything except for these. So like for just as a quick example, let me pull up this is one of my demos here. It's very, very simple. I basically have a topic subscription ACL that says every topic that you subscribe on just has to start with the word boat, right? So it kind of just forces my application to say everything has to start with the topic boat. But of course, you can have much more complicated ACLs, right? I mean, I'm sure you've seen in production environments where there's perhaps really complicated ACLs. How complicated an ACL have you ever seen, Vidya? Oh, I can't hear you. Oh,
Oops, I was on mute. It can go up to like few tens or hundreds
oh, there we
of
go.
topics in the list.
Mm.
So it really depends. Like take example
Yeah.
of market data operations where you're actually paying to market data vendors for the data you're consuming. So then in that case, your access control list ACLs can be really sophisticated with hundreds of different versions of the topic or variants of the topic, or it can be as coarse
Hmm.
as just one line of topic giving you access to a very wide topic space. But generally, like
Yeah. So by default, everything's kind of wide open.
by default, yes,
Yeah. Go
everything
ahead.
is publish all. By default, it is everything publish all on developer instance of the broker. If you are using like yep, I think by default it is all wide open, right? On Solace Cloud instances, by default it is wide open. On the broker instances, let's say if you spin up your own Docker, then everything is blocked. Nothing is open. You have to explicitly allow publish on certain topics.
Yeah. The whenever you create a new whenever one of the things that bites people is that whenever they create a new ACL profile, everything is locked down by default. So like the very first thing you actually have to do is go and either change it to allow or add exceptions for your particular environment. Anyway, the documentation here. So this is docs.solace.com. All of our documentation online. Just type in ACL and it'll tell you all about the cool things that you can do. Here's another tip or trick. Let's see. Do I have Docker running actually? Do I have my broker up? I do. So we saw that there's this no subscription match log. There's also another log for doing ACLs. We were just talking about ACLs, and like maybe you're going to have some ACL violations. Maybe somebody's trying to connect to from an IP address that's not allowed, or trying to publish on a topic that's not allowed and is being blocked. There's actually another log called there's an ACL log. Can you read that all right? Let me zoom in here.
Yep.
Go full screen. There we go. That's really nice and big. ACL. Now I just restarted this broker, so it's probably not going to. I don't have any ACL violations on my local broker. But just like the no subscription match, there is this log, which again you could say is maybe a bit reactive. But if you're trying to track, client usernames or clients trying to do things that they're not supposed to, this is also a very good way to kind of track for violations that are happening. So
Yeah, I'll just add, and all these logs. I mean, you bring it to a interesting point, Aaron. These logs are reactive. When you look at them, they tell you. But generally, in all the production deployments, what we see is all these logs are redirected to something, some kind of CM system, which is incident and operational monitoring system like Splunk or Sumo Logic. So essentially, as soon as there is a ACL denial, and if the appropriate metrics are configured, you will be notified about it that
that's right.
something is going wrong.
Yeah, like as you get to more and more production oriented systems, I've seen some very complicated or complex setups. One of them, something that people don't even usually track that much, is the command log. So this is like whenever you make a configuration change, like when you do something on the broker, create a new queue or create a new username, something like that. there are logs emitted for command. When I was at working for a customer, they had all of these logs being pointed using syslog to an auditing, like production auditing people, and they wanted to make sure that there was no changes happening on the broker during outside of production change windows. So all of these logs can be forwarded to all sorts of monitoring, tracking, and tracing type of situations for people to make sure that things are as they should be, I guess. So anyway, that's a little bit about logs.
There's one note in the chat, a comment from Giri. So the question is, are there API to do whatever you do in the CLI tool? So yes.
Yes. Do you want to
No,
answer that?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're the special guest. You're supposed to do all the work. So verbatim, not 100%. Like it's not a one-to-one mapping, but the online the API that we use in Solace for doing command and control or management is called SEMP. So SEMP. Actually, so yeah, I don't even have to type Solace SEMP into Google anymore. If you just type SEMP, it'll point you to the right place in the documentation. A bit of history here. There's actually two versions of SEMP. SEMP v2 is fully RESTful API for doing configuration, monitoring, management of the broker. You saw me just now here in the PubSub Plus Manager. So this GUI tool, everything that you can do in this GUI tool, you can do programmatically using SEMP, because this thing uses SEMP, right? So if you want to say, I want to look at the stats of my VPN, there is a command that you can do that. If you want to create a new queue, up here, plus Q, and give it a new queue, there is a command to do that. And all of that is using SEMP. So SEMP, this is the reference here. It's all documented using Swagger, Open API. And as I said, it's a fully RESTful. You can see if I scroll down here, all the way down. Yeah, so these are the objects that you're allowed to do stuff with, and then get, post, delete, get a list of VPNs, patch if you want to update a message VPN. So you want to change the number of connections that your message VPN is allowed to have, you would initiate a patch request. So yeah, that's the API that you would do that with. And there we have some code labs that actually kind of help developers or new users of Solace kind of get a little bit familiar with SEMP. So there are ways to learn this stuff. So if you head over to codelabs.solace.dev, CODELABS.solace.dev. This is our list of code labs here. Only necessary. Thanks, Solace. Don't track me. And you can learn all about how to do integration with Solace, various technologies, and also do kind of command and control with SEMP. I don't know, Vijay, do you want to add something? I feel like I.
It's good. I mean, this is our pathway into CI/CD pipelines. Most of the customers, they don't want configurations to be done manually. I mean, even in development environment, it's okay, you go and do it. But generally, they are also the principle is always have a scripted deployment that is repeatable right from the dev environment all the way up to production. And the way customers choose to operate their CI/CD pipelines or embed SEMP into their pipelines is either use our Swagger definition or generate the client code. For example, in Java or Python or Ruby, whatever is their CI/CD preferred language of choice. So they generate the stubs for our API, use that to bake it into their pipeline. So that is for more matured people or environments where they have these kind of sophisticated pipelines. Other not so big, let's say if the deployment is not very big, I have also seen people using our plain REST send XML as request and get response. So they use Postman projects to bake their CI/CD pipeline, and that gives them a repeatable way, right? Because it's a Postman project, you do it once, you just change the endpoint, and then you have a completely automated way of recreating the environment.
I have yet to do proper production CI/CD tooling for Solace. Like all of my, I know SEMP fairly well. I know CLI very well. I've I just use curl and like in a loop, a shell script to like kind
Yeah,
of do some initial configuration on the broker, which is not best practice, definitely. But yeah, you go from as simple as manual configuration, which is fine for the first one or two times, and trying it out, like um, and using the GUI tool here kind of teaches you obviously about the different things that you can do, right? So like what options are available to me? Well, I want to create a client, I want to create a queue. Um, and then when you go to look at the SEMP reference, it kind of makes a lot more sense, because if you just start with the SEMP reference, the config reference, it can be quite intimidating because there's a lot of options and stuff there. So, oh, there's a follow-up comment here. Great. I'm interested in client cycle, life cycle changes, subscription change, basically monitoring. Okay. So less around config and perhaps more around kind of runtime monitoring and stuff. So yeah, there's a number of things around that. Monitoring in Solace. So we talked a little bit earlier just about logging. So one of the main logs that a person doing monitoring in Solace would be watching the event log, which is essentially clients connecting, disconnecting, threshold breaches like queues getting full or number of subscriptions getting high. These are all emitted to this event log, which can be forwarded using syslog to Splunk or Elk or anything. But you can also, to kind of get a view of the current state, you would need to combine that with kind of SEMP based monitoring. So rather than using SEMP for all the config, like in this API reference, you'll see that there's a config reference, and this is how you create queues and delete queues and update usernames. There's also a monitor API reference, and the URL just changes a little bit. It's hard to see because my font is small, but you'll see that in my URI here, I'll be SEMP v2 monitor versus config or action, and this allows you to you can build monitoring applications to say, show me all the clients, show me all their stats. Subscription changes, that's a little bit different, Vidya? That's
yeah,
that's a little bit different. So for direct messaging, we actually have the Solace broker can emit essentially messages over the message bus whenever someone adds or removes a subscription. So some of our market data platform implementations, people have written essentially subscription change listeners that listen for these kind of things. I don't know. Most that's pretty deep kind of like listening for subscription changes, right?
yeah. I mean, if you want to go one level deep, there's on behalf of subscriptions as well. I mean, that takes the subscriptions to altogether new level, completely dynamic.
Yeah. Now, I would say that using the Solace event portal, we haven't talked about the event portal much, and I could give a demo. We have the ability to do discovery. That when if say you have a runtime environment already set up, say you want to kind of analyze the data that's going through it, there's an open source version for not only for Solace but for Kafka, for Hive, I believe, I think for Nats as well, to be able to actually scan the topics that are going through your broker, to look at the clients that are there and what they are subscribed to, and to actually diagram this stuff in the GUI. Back over here. So this is Solace Cloud. Solace Cloud is free to sign up. If you haven't seen it yet, just go to solace.cloud and sign in. But yeah, there's this ability to do discoveries, and so this is kind of just a dump of all the. I don't actually. Most of these aren't mine, so I don't want to start like poking around in them. But you can actually scan your brokers. So it's not monitoring per se, like you wouldn't use this to do monitoring, but if you wanted to kind of look at the data that's going through your system at any one time, a snapshot of 5 minutes, for example, to be able to analyze and look at kind of visualize who's publishing on what, you can pull that data into into a designer tool like this, and then take a look at it. So end up getting, you can basically end up diagramming your flow of events, between applications, to and from who's publishing on what, and stuff like that. So.
And why it's important is because you want to know what's happening in your event-driven choreographed world, right? This gives you a very nice snapshot into your event ecosystem. So two things. One is discovery. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. So this gives you a way of identifying what all events you have in your enterprise so that you can reuse, then recreate or duplicate. And second thing is change management. So let's say if you want to add few fields to a schema of an event, uh, event portal gives you a nice traceability of figuring out if you make that change, what all applications are you going to impact. Because if you look at it, an event is produced by one application and consumed by one or many applications.
Many
So
applications, yeah.
yeah, so if you are changing that event, you need to be, or you want to be confident that what all am I going to break. Generally your changes are non-breaking, but there are certain times the requirements where you need to add mandatory fields into your schema. For example, let's say if there is a compliance requirement from the regulator asking you to add or collect some information from customer. Now that's a mandatory schema change that you need to address.
Mm-hmm. So using the event portal, you can actually kind of diagram and visualize who's listening on what and who is, kind of a chain of responsibility. There are other tools that can help with that kind of stuff as well. So schema validators and whatnot. But this is a great way to kind of be able to visualize easily the data that's going through your system and who's listening on what. And take a look at schema. Take a look at this. There we go. JSON schema for this one. And of course, from here, you can do code generation and all sorts of cool stuff, right? To do. Anyway, that's a little bit about the event portal. So last time, a month ago, I had Steve on at my office hours, and he actually had a demo of some Kafka environment, which was pretty sweet. So if anybody's interested in that, check that out. The broadcast was on YouTube. I should actually have a good demo set up here. Obviously, you can tell that I haven't aligned all my icons for this one, so it's a little messy. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, thanks, Giri. Thanks for the questions. I hope that was kind of a broad thing all about configuration, about configuration APIs, SEMP, monitoring as well. Come find us on the community if you want to ask more questions. Hey, Neha. How's it going? Hello. Oh, you're all right. Here we go. Since we're talking about CICD, one question that was asked to me: can we selectively export only a few objects, some queues or profiles using the export command? Is there a way to do this? The export command. So I'm guessing that you're talking about the show current config CLI command. I guess. The short answer is no, not that I know of. But there are, using SEMP, I mean, you should be able to essentially just grab the configuration required for certain objects. I've never actually tried it though. So Vidya, have you ever? Oh, Vidya just disappeared. Where'd he go? He left. Uh-oh. I'm by myself now. So let me just pull up, just so people know what I'm talking about. I'm going to pull up my screen here. So this is CLI. If you've never seen it, oh, he's back. Hold on. Let me just add you back in here, Vidya. There you go. Where'd you get here? What happened?
I just, by mistake, I clicked on some link on login and that kind of threw me out.
Uh-oh.
That's okay. Sorry.
That's all right. So yeah, so for those that know CLI and Solace, we have this. Yeah, you can generate a script to basically kind of export the configuration. People use this for backup sometimes, but it kind of contains everything. It essentially dumps your entire configuration in one big blob. And so if you want to kind of pick and choose certain objects out of it, you can't, not without manually going and kind of editing this file. However, using SEMP, I think it should be more possible. Like if you said, show me the config for Q1, could you then turn around and say, all right, create Q1 with that payload in a different VPN? I mean, have you ever tried that, Vidya, using SEMP to kind of essentially say, give me this config and then try to update it in the same way?
Yeah, I mean export and import. Generally, that is what we used to do during the hardware days when we did not have very good, like ACMP, more developer friendly APIs.
Right. Using CLI, yeah, maybe, but can you do it with SEMP? Do you know if it's possible?
I have seen there are some, I mean, out of the box, I don't think Solace has anything which will export the SEMP. There is a tool, CLI to SEMP, which where you input a CLI command and it generates the corresponding SEMP output. But
Mm-hmm.
let's say if you ask, or let's say if the requirement is, do I have a tool that I point to my broker and
Mm-hmm.
run it or trigger it? It goes there, scans for all the configuration and generate a corresponding SEMP XML. So that kind of tool has been built by a few customers. Sort of
Mm-hmm.
these are bespoke tools. There's
Mm-hmm.
one in open source also. I mean, one of the customer in Queensland, uh, the champion. I mean, they found it out that such a tool is available on open source in open source community.
Okay.
And what it does is it extracts the configuration in SEMP from one broker, I mean from a broker, which we can then run or replay or play against a fresh broker. So that is like if you have to recreate the configuration from one broker to another broker using SEMP, that is how they do it.
So it was SEMP v1
I
or
think it is SEMP v2. SEMP v2.
so what I just did, if people are watching so I just ran using curl, good old curl, just a plain command on my local broker that I have running here, which you could do the same thing with the cloud broker. And I just said, show me the info for my queue called Q1. I almost always have a Q1. It's usually the first thing I make in a new broker. And it dumped out, as you can see, all of this configuration. And so what I want to find out live on air is whether I can actually turn this around and push it back into the broker and make a new Q1, maybe let's call it Q10. And because I don't think I have a Q10, Q10. Nope, no Q10. So can I make a queue called Q10? Can I make a queue called Q10 using the SEMP v2 response? Also, Vidya, perhaps you know this. I believe one of our colleagues, I think it's Island, has a cool SEMP kind of, or Jet, maybe was it Jet or was it Island? One of the two of those guys wrote some kind of open source utility using SEMP to basically grab specific objects. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't think I have seen this before. Maybe I've heard about it, but never got a chance to get into the details of it.
I swear, it's Solace SEMP v2 object scanner. I don't know. I'm just gonna type in some random words and see if I can stumble onto it. Solace Apache Beam. No. No. Neha, I know that one of our SEs has wrote something cool. Anyway, let me just try this experiment while live on air, because that's always kind of fun and exciting.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm gonna
think
try.
there's something, Aaron, by Island, right? It's on GitHub.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's called Backup and Restore Solace PubSub Broker with configuration with SEMP v2. So I'll just share the link in chat. Let's see if that's the one.
Yeah. Oh, I think I found it. Is it this? Can you see my screen? I think it's this.
Yeah. Fly Island.
Oh, this is no longer maintained. Please use sol config for backup and restore. Let's try that. So Neha, if you're watching, our colleague Island has this GitHub repo. So this looks like it uses SEMP v2, which is our modern way of doing config rather than SEMP v1 or CLI, and then stores it all to a local JSON file. Now, whether it can do individual objects, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I haven't played with it. I just remember a demo and it looked really cool. But perhaps, wow, look, he's got a whole command line and everything.
Yeah.
So there you go, Neha. Yeah, Vidya, post it in the chat there. Can you? Here, I can do it.
Yeah, I can. I can paste it in. It's in private chat, so maybe
Here,
I'm not sure if I have access. Yeah.
I'll post it on the main chat there. Can't
Yeah.
post comment due to some destinations. Oh, okay. I can't post a comment. I'll post it onto YouTube then. I guess it can't. It's not working for. There we go. There you go, Neha. Oh, I did it twice. Whoops. Anyway, that's what we're looking at. But like I said, I'm gonna run this experiment and just see if I can if this works or doesn't work. We're gonna find out in just a moment whether I can actually create a queue using the dump of the other queue. Go down to queue. Okay, so I'm going to do a post, create a queue object. So we're going to do a post, queue name, blah, 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 blah. All right. What do you think, Vidya? Do you want to give me, do you want to make a bet whether this is going to work or not? So here's my payload.
Yeah, I think it should work. It will work. You are just going to dump that CLI, right? That configuration, yes.
That's right, yeah. So all I did was I changed the queue name. So I've changed it from Q1 to Q10. And I think looking at the, gotta save it. And so now I'm going to do just another curl command. And looking at the SEMP reference here, if I want to create a queue object, I just do a post to this. And then as long as I have queue name inside the payload, it should work. So let's see. So config message VPN's default queues. Yep. And then -d. Oh no, how do you do a file?
At the rate.
Yeah, what?
Is it at the rate?
There's
yeah, curl -d at file name.
curl -d
at the rate file name. File name as in file path.
Q1 like that. Oh, it's Neha's comment is covering. Let me move it up here. There we go. All right. I'm gonna see if this works. That looks right to you? Blah blah blah. Q's D at symbol. Okay. Go. Parse error. Oh, okay. I gotta add a header. -h. What is it? Content type application JSON. Go. 400. Parse error. What the heck?
Invalid content type. Must be one of application JSON. So yes, it is or maybe
I have a typo. Content dash type, right?
Type.
Come on. All right. I love live on air experimentation. This is always kind of exciting.
Maybe try with Postman if you have.
I do have Postman. I'm just going to pull up one of my code labs that I know I actually have some CLI commands that actually do this, just to like, I can actually cut and paste here. I think that's what I have, is it not? Let's try that again. I'll just copy this whole thing. Maybe I made a typo. Oh, I did make a typo. Yeah.
Yeah, A.
Yeah, I had an A there. All right. Quote that. Go. Ooh, a 200. Well, that is exciting. So did it work? Let's try it. Local host. Oh, give me a break. So Neha, yeah, it looks like if using SEMP2, because you can literally just, yeah, using SEMP2, it looks like you can literally just say, get the config and then just post the data. Queues. Q1, Q10. There we go.
Yeah.
And it's made me a new queue. Beautiful. Well, that's easy, isn't it? So, look at all my queues. I didn't realize I had so many queues. Excellent. So that actually is pretty cool. I've never done that before, and that makes me happy. So yeah, and it would certainly make tools like Island's sol config here, which is kind of a backup using SEMP2, backup and restore, very easy to use, right? You don't have to go and modify the data. That was one of the problems with the original SEMP v1, is that it would mix and match between configuration and statistics. And so sometimes, like in the response, it would you would have to manually go through and kind of trim it down and know which parts, I guess, which attributes were actually configuration versus not. So cool. One more follow-up. Requirement is export only some objects as a dependency. This will be done using SEMP2 or CLI through some customization. Some objects and its dependencies. Yeah, see that makes me a bit not nervous, but like say for example, you're exporting a VPN bridge configuration or maybe an RDP configuration. If it's configured to use certain client usernames than the default, or certain client profiles than the default, then yeah, there's no automatic way to do it, to say for this one object, give me it and everything that it depends on. You would have to do that with some, a bit of scripting to kind of like look at what is in there.
Correct.
Right? Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think,
but perhaps Island's code here takes care of that for you. I don't know. So maybe experiment with that. And if you have a follow-up, come find us on Solace Community and ask there, because it's I think you actually did. Did you ask on Solace Community? Neha, if you haven't asked on Solace Community, please come and ask us there, and you will get some maybe some experts tuning in with some better opinions. So, thanks for the question. All right. Oh, hey Ari, North Sumatra. Wow, what's it like there? Hopefully the weather's nice. Never been to Sumatra. Thanks for joining. Let's see. Well, no more questions for now. Let's go back to the community here and kind of take a browse.
So also, Aaron, recently we had this like connectors. We are working very actively on the Solace connectors. We are trying to build as many out of the box integrations with our ecosystem partners.
That's right.
Our cloud being the most important. So we have had connectors for a long time, like using Solace REST delivery point. We can integrate with a lot of cloud technologies. Essentially, cloud is all about REST, right? Cloud provide you a lot of REST connectivity options. So recently, a month before, we provided support of adding the AWS signatures, authentication signatures as a part of our REST delivery configuration. So
Hmm.
take example, let's say if there are messages coming into a queue, you
Hmm.
want, and we have live customer requiring this kind of functionality. It's in the capital markets. So they have the trades coming in, right? So these trades need to these trades need to be settled, but at the same time, these trades need to go into their data analytics store, which is Databricks.
Okay.
So it needs
Okay.
to go in Databricks, and why it needs to go there is because they want to do streaming analytics on the basket of trades. They want to do sort of analytics to figure out if they are not crossing or breaching their market exposures or credit limits. A lot of things, like Databricks is like their data lake where they need to put all the data and then do intelligence on that data.
Sure.
Now with
And getting it in there.
Solace,
Yeah.
getting in, yeah, so getting in there, so they are using Databricks connector of Solace,
Mm. Mm.
which is being developed, but at the same time, prior to that, what they were doing was to have data coming from queue via RDP into S3 bucket via API gateway, and from
Hmm.
there going into Databricks connector.
Hmm.
So they were
Hmm.
not very happy with that API gateway sitting in between, or maybe use something like Boomi to pull the data from queue and
Hmm.
then write the data into S3 using AWS S3 connector of Boomi. Didn't want
Hmm.
to do that. So with this signature, now what they can do is they can have a RDP listening on queue, and
Hmm.
per queue they can write data into individual S3 bucket, because
Hmm.
we can have one-to-one mapping between the two. And with
Hmm.
RDPs, variable substitutions, where you can provide placeholders in the target URI, it
Hmm.
becomes so smooth that they have a one-to-one mapping with those signatures. So no need of doing the authentication per message basis, or complicated way of doing the authentication. They just generate the signature for appropriate time frame, use that,
Yep.
and the data just seamlessly move into S3.
So it's all built into the RDP now.
It's all
That's
built
how
into
it's.
the RDP
Yeah.
now, and that's the beauty, because now they 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 know that Solace is very reliable. It doesn't break, right? Once you configure RDP, it is running there. The broker is running there. The queue is running there. So they have their data pipeline infrastructure on a very reliable platform that's
Hmm.
getting their data as the trades are flowing in on the broker into their data lake. And
Hmm.
the thing is that because of the topic to queue subscription and routing, they don't have to do anything. The trades are being published from their front office environment.
Hmm.
They are just taking a copy of that trade and putting it into Databricks. And
Yep.
RDP is enabling that.
Yep. So if I wish I couldn't find my stylus. I was looking for it earlier. I would diagram this, but so essentially they have uh, their front office environment with their complex topic hierarchy that describes their trade. They just route that data to a queue using a topic subscription, and then from there, so it's kind of grabbing a copy, right? Essentially like a drop copy of the
Correct.
data from their front office, and then from there they have an RDP, which is pulling data off that queue, doing a little bit of magic in terms of the post request target, and sticking it into S3 without any other additional components or third party gateways or anything like that, right? So direct from Solace into S3.
Yeah.
Um, so the substitution expressions in our RDP is fairly new. It came out in 9.11, which came out in September of 2021, and I played with it quite a bit. I actually have some videos coming very soon that walk through this. But I did a quick demo in December when I had a live stream with my buddy Tamimi to kind of show this stuff. You can do some very cool stuff with these substitutions, not just pulling pieces out of the topic. Like for this, I have one example here just showing like I'm using level 5 of a topic of the topic hierarchy. You can grab data out of the headers. Like if you're doing like a selector type thing, you can actually pull data from the header of the message and build part of your URL or your URI. You can add custom headers as well to your HTTP outbound request. All sorts of cool stuff to allow, yeah, easy integration with things that only support REST. I mean, what do you think, Vidya? How long until cloud operators are going to have WebSocket or AMQP or MQTT ingestion? Because REST is just not meant for streaming. I mean, REST in streaming is not the thing. So
Yeah, correct. I think if the problem is if you look at from the OSI layer perspective, right? Uh, till we have these kind of more interactive application layer protocols working with because as soon as we have TCP, right? TCP is not good for open internet. Nobody wants to do any kind of TCP layer traffic on open internet.
okay.
They want HTTP. So till we have something which is more firewall friendly, I think HTTP
WebSockets,
WebSockets,
web,
yeah,
WebSockets, man. I mean, but I mean,
yeah,
like WebSockets is just a transport. There's still a protocol that needs to be defined on top of that. So
correct.
I really think MQTT. I don't know. It's more than just for IoT. Everybody, if you can hear me out there, I think MQTT is a great B2B interop kind of standard. It's lightweight. It's PubSub. Um,
And
and
supported
it's
over WebSockets.
simple, and it's supported over WebSockets, and it's simple, and it's fairly performant, and it's lightweight. I think MQTT 5 version 5 is great. Ari's just asking something here. Links to the previous video, yes. I don't have a code lab yet. There is a blog that our colleague Rob from PLM did. Solace blog RDP substitutions. I figured it out by just playing with it for like 2 days. It took a while to kind of like figure out all this stuff, but yeah. So this is the blog. If you just type in what I did, what did I type? Solace blog RDP substitutions. You should find it. It's a blog by Rob Tompkins here, and he walks through some of the configuration that he did to integrate it with various data lakes, cloud native data lakes. That very similar to what Vidya was just talking about. Yeah, so here, look at this nice graphic here. Wow, that looks pretty. So yeah, basically having a Solace queue, attract the messages, having an RDP, which is you're doing a bit of transform, and then pushing it into these various things here. And it talks about how you can kind of do, yeah, some of the substitution expressions, links into our documentation. So check that out. I am going to have a video, gosh, hopefully this month. I got too many things going on. But yeah, I got a video because it's really cool. You can do stuff like, yeah, integration with data lakes, things that require specific headers. I actually came up with a cool use case where because Solace supports REST messaging, I actually used an RDP to publish back into Solace using the REST port, and essentially it does topic transformation. So if you're publishing on one topic coming in that you can't modify, but you want it to look like a different topic, you can actually use an RDP as a topic republisher. So all sorts of neat use cases can be unlocked using this stuff. So yeah, check it out. It is a little bit, it's not the simplest. I mean, that's kind of why we're writing these this click to connect, all this kind of integration, click to connect headers and things to kind of help guide you through it, because yeah, the manual configuration is a little bit tricky. It's once you get good at it, I guess it's easier, but like the first time, it's much easier to use one of these wizards to kind of do this integration. So yeah. Anyway, check that out. Check that out. Yeah. Oh, they even give, look at this. So by the way, yeah, I remember Rob saying this blog will be updated once once Solace builds all the cool wizards that are going to be available for all this stuff. So as of right now, there's some CLI, as you can see here, where he kind of shows this stuff. But you can also do this manual configuration using the PubSub plus GUI tool here. If I just quickly jump back to my one test connector I have, you go into Q bindings. Q bindings is where you'll find the information for it. That is where you can do this substitution expression, and you can do wacky things like topic or message ID or parts of the header. So all sorts of stuff there. So yeah. What do you say? Cool idea. Oh, the message republishing? Yeah. Be careful of infinite loop. Yes, I've done that too. Yeah. Just make sure that, yeah, whatever you republish on is not being listened to by the RDP, because yeah, you will get into an infinite loop, and my CPUs just all went boom, like 100%. So yeah, be careful of that. So anyway, stay tuned for that. The YouTube video that I was mentioning is on our YouTube channel. I will drop the link in just for, well, I mean, if everybody's watching this on YouTube, it should be there, but YouTube, there we go, .com/ there's our channel. And if you look for December product update, that with Aaron and Tamimi, that is what it was. So if I very quickly just jump over here, let's see, videos. It's a live stream. I believe it was a live stream. Oh, there's one that looks familiar. Here it is. The second last live stream is year in review Solace messaging APIs. During that live stream, at the end, I gave a little demo, 5-minute demo on variable substitutions. So let me just zoom in a little bit there. A year in review. Let me just I'll copy that link. Copy link address. There we go. All right, Vidya. Hey, we're at the top of the hour already. That's I think we're pretty good. I think we've talked about quite a lot of stuff. There we go. Yeah. How'd you enjoy it? What do you think? Was that interesting? Was that fun?
Quite interesting. The format, keep it fluid. We discussed quite a lot of things. They were in flow. Hopefully it was useful.
Hopefully it's useful. Yeah, I mean, we are trying to run these office hours with now a little bit more regular cadence. So it's going to be the 4th Tuesday of every month. I'll be doing one of these. I'm going to have different guest speakers. Vijay, I'm sure I'll re-ask you to come back at some point. But yeah, we like to change it up and see who else wants to join. And yeah, sometimes it's just whoever joins in and asks us questions, we can get some really interesting questions. And yeah, as you found, the topics can kind of go all over the place. So
yeah. And it's good actually. It generates the content. It is there on YouTube, so people can come and look at it even later. In fact, we do upload these videos right on YouTube.
Yep. They are there forever. So anybody can come along later and find these. Thank you everybody for tuning in, whether you're listening live or whether you're listening to this in the future. Come find us on Solace Community. We love to talk about Solace things there, ask us questions. And yeah, again, Vidya, thank you very much for joining. And yeah, we're going to sign off now. So yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
See you later. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.